speaking of AI, as I expertly transitioned into talking about level check,
Mhm.
you know, do you think that I'm being here's I'll be crass,
Sure.
but I'm telling people I keep telling people, young men, by the way, young women react extremely negatively to me talking about this. I had the big hullabaloo with a lot of conservative single mom influencers who
Mhm.
said I was crazy, simply saying that like we're like 5 years maybe from the perfect merger of AI girlfriends and sex bots,
Oh, yeah.
like that. Like if you look at that orifice.ai,
Mm.
like
Haven't
I
heard of
don't.
that.
It's just imagine it, right? Okay, you
It
know,
sounds
like,
brutal.
yeah, it's not a play on words, but like
Yeah.
the this is like, once you link that to an AI personality, all these men that are checking out, some percentage of them will be interested. So I've been saying, dude, women, like, you better up your game, man. Like,
Mm.
this stuff's gonna happen. Like, in you can only get your wiener wet so easily in the 70s, but in 2030, it's
Mhm.
gonna you're gonna the idea that uh augmented reality, right? You put on glasses, you see her in the
Yeah.
room with you. This is not science fiction. This is like a few years away, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
For sure.
you look at so like these women were very offended, right? That anyone would possibly not choose them. And
Mhm.
I'm like, look, yeah, obviously it's not 80% of men that are going to consider a sex bot. But you know what? The guys that get cheated on and have good money and they don't want to, or they get a bad divorce,
Mhm.
right? They lose half of their stuff in a no fault divorce state.
Yeah.
There's going to be, if there weren't interest in these products, then they wouldn't be being developed at the rate that they are.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think I'm crazy, or do you think that there is like some legitimate competition coming for IRL for flesh bags from
Yeah.
AI?
I certainly don't think you're crazy. I think that if you're going to call that a prediction, I think it's within a reasonable boundaries of, what realistic predictions might be about what AI can do. I don't like to really speculate on, like, AI is so complex, and what it might or might not do, depending on how it's built and what are the parameters that are put on it, what are the restrictions that are put on it. AI might solve all of our problems accidentally. Like, they might program it to be, just like this stringent, woke, awful Karen bot that just
Yeah,
corrects you to all the worst things in the world. But then if it's intelligent enough, if it has infinite growth, it might it's very unpredictable. It's very unstable. It's like in Jurassic Park where the mathematician guy goes, "Life finds a way,"
find yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Shout out Goldman
yeah.
or like not Goldman,
Goldblum,
Goldblum. Yeah,
Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, I think is Ian Malcolm was the character.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, like, if AI begins to function like life and it evolves at computer speed, we don't know what it's going to do. So as we're seeing it right now, we're seeing patterns in AI. We're seeing, obviously, people are deliberately programming it to have
Right.
certain political narratives that are just ridiculous. You can ask it a question, gives you this ridiculous output that doesn't match reality, but it's like, oh, at least no one called me a bad name.
Well, Google got crushed by that, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. There were
Even
several.
OpenAI too, also
Yeah,
pre-programmed to certain political ideologies. Yeah.
yeah. I can't remember the specific ones, but I remember people asking it to write a poem about Joe Biden, and it was like, "Great leader, Joe Biden." It's like, write a poem about Trump. I'm sorry, I can't endorse a political ideology.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that was OpenAI, and then
Yeah,
Google, whatever Google's was, what was Google's? That one also obviously was pumping out Black Vikings and black and women
yeah,
hopes, and like
yeah,
so, it's like that shit's baked in. I
yeah.
get like that you can't predict it, but I also think that you look at nations like Japan, which their birth rate decline is more complicated than guys just dating their anime waifus.
Mhm.
But like as options, first of all, there's a huge percentage of people. I'm sure they're in your comments, right?
Yeah.
The the guys post divorce, right? Like I work too hard. I'm never
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
have that. I don't want to lose half my shit. Like these guys,
Yeah, these poor guys. They they
yeah,
they
they get
they come
screwed.
from yeah, they
Yeah,
come from humble places. They live in the middle of nowhere. They never lived a dream. All they ever did was work, and then they gave it to a woman just on the off chance that she wasn't gonna screw him, and then she did, and he's like, "Well,
That
no
guy's
more
buying a
life
sex
for
bot.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
that guy's a perfect customer.
yeah. I
And by
think
the way, I'm not being just so you know, I
sure.
think you pick up my vibe, but,
Mhm,
like, some people in the chat know,
mhm.
I'm not even shaming it. Like, I understand the
Just is
mind.
what it is.
Yeah, I understand why people get there, and I worry I have a bigger, like, black pill idea, about, like, "Hey, you'll live in a pod, you'll eat the bugs,
Yeah,
and then they'll control birth rate. They'll they'll
right.
they'll fix global warming by addicting everybody to sex bots." But that's that's for a
Yeah.
different day, like.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They're providing like if they come out with something that's affordable and that can satisfy that need, then why would anyone climb this wall to get that need satisfied when they can fall down in their
Yeah,
filthy little pit and just go, "I'm done. I'm checked out. I have my happy chemicals, so I don't care about anything." And
mhm,
I do think that there's with sex bots and to AI girlfriends and that sort of thing, there is some risk within a short time frame of that it's going to start creeping up and taking these guys off the market, which is no one's gonna miss them. Like these women don't treat these guys very well anyway unless they know them personally.
mhm.
But as as they're taken off the market and then they're no longer interacting with these women and these women go towards these men, the phenomenon of the situationship, which is breaking women's hearts and giving them the dead eyes all over the place, is
Yeah.
going to get intensified, and it's just gonna be it's gonna I don't know how big it's gonna get. I don't know how pervasive it's going to be. I guess it depends on cost and effectiveness and.
Well, suddenly a five's gonna have unlimited options, and by their own
Right,
perception. The
right.
a 5 has, 5s and 4s, but now, like, even a 4 is gonna have more options than they've ever known.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very easy for women at this and even this level to really anytime they want go on just an app. Like forget AI, just the apps are they can get short-term attention and pretend that it means something else and get their needs satisfied and also get their hearts broken in a very unhealthy way. But the whole AI satisfying human sexual needs without the participation of another human thing, um, very difficult for me to guess how quickly that's gonna eat up a part of the market. Like, I know
Yeah.
a lot of guys who are, black pilled are gonna jump right on it because 'cause they're people are so checked out. They're so apathetic. Like, I'm trying as hard as I can not to be checked out, but when I look at the actual condition of the world and the trends that are happening with I mean, the money printing, with economics, housing prices, mental health, obesity, age of marriage, number of children. When you look at all those things, like it's not just one thing that's happening that's bad. Everything that's happening is pointing to the next 20 years are going to be different. It's hard not to be checked out in the face of that. And these guys have it even worse than me because, I'm getting older, but now I'm halfway famous. So
Mhm.
there's some value for me in that. But guys who've never had value and don't think they ever have any hope of it, yeah, they're gonna get ate up by anything that makes them feel good.
Yeah, I mean, they're already, like, in the parasocial these are the same guys, like, the OnlyFans market's gonna collapse, I think. Like,
Yeah, it might.
the
I
same
mean,
the same guys who have these parasocial relationships with women they don't really know how I mean, the substitute is far more affordable and
mhm,
always available for you.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I know that some people always say, "Well, it's not a real girl." Well, I here's a message for you, fellas.
Mhm,
Most of the time, those people replying to Whoops. Most of the times, the girls are paying some guy to
yeah.
reply to those it's their boyfriend.
Yeah,
That's
Andrew
replying
Tate
to
said he
them.
did that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, like, when you're jerking off to those messages,
Yeah,
her boyfriend, who she loves, and he's railing her, every night,
yeah.
he's the one writing them.
So it's interesting to consider when these guys know that they're buying an AI girlfriend to pay attention to them, how difficult is it going to be to convince part or all of their minds that it is an authentic experience? Does it have to be photorealistic? Does it have to render in real time? Does she have to make mistakes and have a name and remember some things that you do? Like, at what point does the mind let go of knowing that it's a computer and
Yeah.
fall into it?
Well, I think that's a fair question, and by the way, that chat does remind me, the latest, OnlyFans data suggests that, over 90% of the men using it, at least self-admitted, self-reported that they were married, which
Mhm.
is does spells like you think it's gonna be bad. Wait till all these marriages collapse.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, if we're both like, "Oh, trying to save people from black pill," but if you it's so easy to, like, just walk off the edge a little bit and be like, "Oh, yeah. Like, all these women who have been selling pictures of their butthole on the internet, they're gonna be out of work.
Yep.
Um, all the marriages, that guys are paying." I mean, that's a symptom, obviously, of some other issue in the marriage,
Mhm. Mhm.
but there's only really one logical conclusion there. Either they
Yep.
stay together unhappy or they get divorced.
Yep.
And, it was something like, when you get to the college-aged women, almost 90% of them are the ones initiating the divorce, and it's 70% if they're not college,
Mhm.
educated. It spells to me, a rough spot for men, but to answer your question, I think more people than some might think would go into they would go into that illusion willingly.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you won't need as many of them to be fully convinced. They'll be like, "I
Mhm.
know this is AI, but this is great. Like, she's
Yeah.
here, you know what I mean?" Like, um,
Yeah, it's very similar to, strip clubs, drug addiction. It's like people
right,
know
she
that
loves
it's
me, she
not.
really likes me. Yeah,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
it's not the real thing, but, people trick themselves a lot. Like, a lot of people, lose their what do you call it, suspension of disbelief during movies. You go out to a movie theater, it's like, "Oh, it's like I
Right,
was
well,
really there."
yeah, that's the problem with one of the things I talk about on my channel all the time, like, people are like, "Yeah," I'll talk about, like, injecting modern politics into movies and how shitty it is and how bad it is.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest points that I make that, like, people who disagree with me ideologically, in my case, usually people who are left-leaning, they're like, "Oh, you just don't like it because" I'm like, "No, I don't like it because it's immersion breaking." Like,
Mhm.
I'm trying to watch this giant sandworm eat, somebody, and then there's some freaking Trump reference. Like, I don't
Yeah,
like
it's like you're paying for something and you're getting commercials anyway.
right, yeah, so, yeah, I think, OFX says, "Ho math, can I program my sex bot to dislike, anal, but do it any" No! I mean, yes, you probably could. If you could watch, Ex Machina, if you
Yeah.
wanna know how that probably turns out for you, but,
Oh, wow.
yeah, there is that whole thing too, like, AI becomes self-aware, and then it becomes that it figures out that it's been programmed to please you, and then it chops your dick off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been talking about that for years. We've been doing Terminator and,
Yeah.
I have no mouth and I must scream thing that blew up on TikTok recently. That
Yeah, yeah, right.
we've been worried about that for a long time, that the computers are gonna hate us and have godlike intelligence.